and welcome to another episode of Chennai AI Community Podcast. Let's explore the world of artificial intelligence through interesting conversations. So today we have a AI entrepreneur, co-founder of Authenta, Deepfake detection technology. Hi Praveen.
Hi.
So he's Praveen Benedict, co-founder. So how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Perfect day.
It's perfect. Okay. So how he's a 26-year-old AI entrepreneur. So today what we are going to cover today is his journey. How at this age he's able to form a company, and he's right now in a journey of scaling his product. So Praveen, once again, thanks for taking time and coming here.
Happy to join. Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to begin with your journey. Like, what's your background? What have you studied? And if you can give us some.
Okay, so given that we've set the context that we're talking about my journey of how we've started this in 26, scaling up and so on. Mm-hmm. So usually when I introduce myself or when I think about it, I usually start with I've been using my computer since my diaper days.
Diaper days
since I was probably 3 years old,
okay,
4 years old. So that's a huge advantage, right? So getting exposed to technology. I think I started using a computer 3 years old. Mm-hmm. I think I had access to an internet connection. I was 5 or 6 years old. I don't remember. I think that's how long back it has been.
You're born with technology.
Yeah, born with technology. I think that gives a huge access. And the other one is that I grew up in environments right from my childhood. Mm-hmm. I grew up in environments that had two important factors. One is I was always allowed to explore my curiosity. So I was not stopped from using the computer just because I was like 4 years old or 5 years old. The other one is that there are always people that I could go talk to about this, right? So I could let's say I learned something on internet. I could go and talk to people, my relatives, cousins, people in school, teachers who are always encouraging of discussing these ideas, whatever I read about and learn about. So it was not just about me learning.
Correct.
It's also about talking about it to others and getting their perspective, trying to understand. So I think those are the. If you ask me if there's anything I remember about my childhood, those are two things. Me spending a lot of time in the computer trying to build and break things. Other one is trying to spend a lot of time with people much older than me, people of the same age, people who are sometimes younger than me, talking about the same ideas to different people and getting different perspectives.
So okay. That's interesting. So how about what were the things you learned? You were exposed to so much of technology. What are the things you were building during your school days? If you can share something.
Yeah. So during my school days, so little websites. I think I remember building a small website for my father's construction company. Of course, we did not deploy it, but I just built it out of my own curiosity. What would it look like? Just to try to understand what it would look like. And then I built this mini social networking site for my school students. Not many people used it. Yeah. But I just tried doing it. Like I said, it was just purely out of curiosity. I got to know that you could build you could use this CMS called Drupal. There are some plugins available to build a mini social networking site. So I did that, onboarded all my classmates. Oh. It was, I think the first few days were, first few days people are talking, and then that's it, interest died out. Because Facebook and Orkut, they were already there, so there was no need. But I was not trying to compete again. My goal was to just do something interesting and then, bring people on board. So that was very interesting. And I mentioned that robotics class, right? So I would build. So I remember building this. So I took a hockey stick, a hockey stick of my friend, put sensors in that, and then attach all the sensors that would notify. So my goal was to build a walking stick for a blind person. Okay. Right. So if somebody is using that, if there's something in front of them, or if there's a pothole nearby, it would intimate it using specific sounds. Yeah. So that is something I built. I think I'm not sure when exactly I have 10th, 11th standard maybe. I'm not sure. 11th and 12th, that's when I got into game development. So again, accidentally I got to know that there's something called Unity 3D. So I just, then I forgot the name of the YouTube channel back then, but there's a YouTube channel that taught how to build basic games like Flappy Bird using Unity. So that was actually my first game.
So when did you start making money then? Like you've been building from 8th grade. Yeah. So when was your, if you can recall, what was your first earning? And
my first earning, my actual first, I'd say client project would be in my first year. Okay. So like I said, in my hostel, what I do is I'll always be sitting in front of a laptop. Okay. I'll be doing something, learning something, building something. I'll be breaking something. I'll be doing all that. So my friends knew that I do something around this space, right? They knew I was something like that. Sorry. I'm doing something around this space. So what happened was one of my classmates, senior, he's an MBA student. So they were organizing a symposium and they wanted a website for it. They wanted a website and they wanted form submissions to bring people in for publicity purposes. So what happened was, so he was talking to me about it, that they're looking for somebody to build a website. And I told them, no, I know how to build a website, let me do that for them. So I went, so he introduced me to them. It was the MBA department. So I was talking to them. They said they need a website. They gave me the details. That's when I got to know how to collect recommends from a client. Right? Until then, it was my own.
You were just building for yourself.
Yeah, I was,
correct.
The ideas were in my head.
Yeah.
I was my client. That was the first time I actually dealt with somebody as a client.
Okay.
But again, I did not talk about money to them at that time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wanted to build something. So they said we could do it. So then that's when I got to learn a lot. Like I said, I knew how to build websites. I didn't know how to host them. Right? Even the social networking side, there was a built-in hosting platform there. Right. So I didn't know how to host, buy a hosting platform and all. So I went, I searched how to host. I learned how to host. It was all this happened in a single night. So around noon, lunch time, I talked to them. I collected the recommends, noted it down. Came back to hostel, took some good rest. Started at around 7 or 8 o'clock. And I didn't sleep the entire night because I wanted to build the site on that day itself. I was very excited. Right? So I couldn't sleep. So it was also with a friend of mine. So a hostel mate of mine. So both of us were sitting and doing it. So the entire night we were trying to build it. We were trying to host it. We were trying to try to make it responsive. Everything happened in one night. So the next day we went and told him we've done the website.
Okay.
Can I have a look? So he had a look and he gave some suggestions. So we went back. So that's when I got to know how to explain what's possible and what's not possible to a client.
So that was your first journey and you got some payment for it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we got some, they gave some, I think it was 2,000 or 3,000 rupees.
So I'm recalling recently, like 2 months back, I've been to IIT for a recruitment and exact similar situation. There's a freshman out there and there is something for the college. He sat overnight and he built and he, delivered it in the morning. I think that's that craze that even when you love technology, you want to do it.
My first 3 or 4 websites they were all built overnight. Okay. At least the first version was the first draft was built overnight because I was very excited.
Okay.
But then of course, the excitement is still there. Even today when I'm trying to build something, the excitement is still there. Okay. But of course, one thing that I like to note is that just because you're trying to be curious, you're trying to learn a lot, it has nothing to do with you losing out on other things.
Yeah.
You can, like I said, in school and both college, I used to hang around. I bunked classes. I went to, I would go for the movies. I would weekend outs, weekend night outs, long drives. All that happened in my.
So work hard, party harder. That's the philosophy.
Work hard, party harder. Right. I never had to compromise on either parts. I never felt like I'm compromising my learning side, the learning side of Praveen, just to go have fun. I never felt like I had to compromise the fun side of it just because I had to spend time learning or doing some freelance project.
Makes sense.
And I had to try hard to balance it either. We all have. I feel that we all have the time, definitely.
Makes sense. So this is your journey in terms of, in college you were building, you started making money.
Yes, I started.
So let's talk about your entrepreneur journey now. Like, when did you start building your first product?
It was the idea. I mean, I always, like I said, I always think about ideas, product ideas. So I had a lot of product ideas, but when I actually the first idea that I started working on was the outcome of a research that I was doing since my, I think 4th or 5th semester. So a friend of mine, Vinod, so we used to sit over weekends. We even during weekdays we'll talk about research papers and stuff. So when we were talking about this, we got to know there's something called image super resolution. So it's trying to increase the size of an image without losing the quality.
Real time.
In real time. Yeah. You can do that. So all of us would have tried, right? You take a small image, try to increase its size in Photoshop. Maybe you would lose a lot of quality. It gets pixelated.
Correct. Yeah.
But there are ways to use increase the size of an image without losing quality using AI, and that was pretty interesting. So we started. The idea itself felt very fascinating. Right? You could do something. You could do something, not lose any quality. So we started working on it.
So this is for what use case? Maybe this is somewhere near the COVID time you're talking about?
Yeah, this is final year. So we started, the research around it, we started doing it around 3rd year. Okay. Right? So it's like a year-long research that we are trying to build a better, really good model that can do it in real time. Of course, you can do it if you have really good amount of compute. Let's say you have the highest of an NVIDIA graphic card, you can easily do it. But trying to optimize it to, let's say, a video conferencing platform or a video call.
So this can be embedded along with a video conferencing platform. So somebody who, let's say, having a poor
video call. Yeah, so that was the idea. So that's so we were trying to do this research. We did not think about the use cases. Once we were working and once we started reading about it, we got to know, okay, this is really useful in video conferencing platforms. And that's when COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
So it was a really good coincidence.
Yeah, there was a boom for this.
We were, because video conferencing platforms, before that you'll probably hear about in organizations maybe.
Yeah.
So it's the first time everybody knows about Zoom now. Everybody knows about Google Meet. So, but without that 1 year effort that we just passively spent just trying to do research, we wouldn't have been quickly able to build a product out of it, right? So it was not we did not think, okay, let's build a product and then go backward to do research, right? So we're already doing research, and then stars aligned at the right time. We also aligned at the right time. It was right cohort, final year students. We thought, okay, we could build a product out of it. And I had some really good people around me. So I had my friend Leander, who is a really good full stack developer. So he is someone who can build something from scratch. He was also a part of my freelancing journey, so we freelanced together, right? So he had also picked up a lot of learnings in terms of how to build a product. Me and Vinod, we had a lot of learnings around how to do research and so on. So we worked together and we started building this product. We made a lot of mistakes, right? What would take 2 months now in this level of experience took us 8-10 months back then, right?
Fair enough.
So we started building this around February of 2020, March COVID hit. We thought, okay, let's double down on it. So I did not go attend my placements. So I was free the entire time. So I started spending full time. Those two guys, they were working in other companies, so they were doing it in their free time as well. We were all, this is COVID, we had no time to go out. The only entertainment was movies on YouTube, maybe songs. So we all sit, so we'll all connect virtually, we'll discuss a lot, we'll talk, I will discuss alternate ideas. And then what happened was finally, so we had a really good product by the end of 2020. Around, I think, mid 2021, we had a really good product. But what we missed out was on the products, the sales side, the business side of it. So like I said, we are engineers, we are researchers, so we were very focused on the product. We missed out on the sales side of things. So that's why so it was too late. By then, a lot of companies had come in that space. We are a bunch of college students. We had just come to college.
Makes sense.
We did not have any experience in sales, so we missed out a lot of things. And then things didn't work out. We went on our own way. So I went to work in another company. These guys did Leander went to do his masters. We know he continued. But what we did not stop doing is we did not stop building something. Right? Even though this didn't really go well, we would still meet now and then virtually or in person, discuss ideas like these.
So how did you leave that, and what was your journey, if you can share? How you left and you came into your own venture? So
like I said, I had this really good group of people around me with whom I always discuss ideas. And I was always, even though I was out of college, I did not stop doing research. My GitHub repository is filled with a lot of hobby projects, a lot of AI research, a lot of me trying to re-implement research papers, me trying to do better than what has probably been mentioned in some research paper. And not just me, this is with my friends as well, Leander, Tony and so on, all these people. So we were always discussing ideas and so on. To take a slight detour, back in 2020, I was working in a freelance media engagement, and that's when I got to know the impact of deepfakes and misinformation. So I knew about deepfakes before that itself, right? Through Reddit, YouTube, and so on. I got to know about deepfakes, but I didn't think it would have a huge impact. But when I started working this freelance engagement, I got to know that deepfakes back in 2021, even though they're not really good, they were still causing a lot of problem with misinformation and so on. Especially especially when it comes to political scenarios and a lot of cases. And I got to know that there are missionaries, there are people doing deepfakes just for misinformation purposes. Yeah,
just spreading propaganda.
Yeah, spreading propaganda, misinformation.
Which is not good for any democracy or any country for that matter. Yeah.
And so I come up from a family that discuss a lot of politics at home. Right? I know how important it is, how even the little things could make a lot of difference. So that's when I got, okay, this is a huge problem.
Yes.
So even then it was just a hobby project. So I've been working around this deepfake space, trying to understand deepfakes.
So while you're working in your employment, this was in back of your mind.
Yeah, back of mind. Weekends with my friends. So again, I'm always building and breaking things, right? So irrespective of where I'm employed, irrespective of what I'm studying, it doesn't matter. I'm always learning something new. So, and along with my friends as well, right? So we were already looking into this deepfake space. We were already looking into this deepfake detection space passively, and we were just trying to see if in our free time can we do something, right? Yeah. So we've been doing that for a long time. By 2023, after ChatGPT and after these models, after these large models, deepfakes and AI-generated images, AI-generated videos, they became extremely realistic. And aside from it being it looking really realistic, it also became very easy for people to do.
Yeah.
Right? Back in 2017, you need somebody with proper deep learning knowledge to do deepfakes.
Yeah.
Now, not the case, right? So back in 2023, we got to know that, I was just reading about it. I got to know that this is affecting the finance space. It's affecting the exam proctoring, online exam space. It's affecting recruiting, so on. So that's when I got to know, okay, there is some business around it. Right? A lot of companies, if companies are losing money on something, then there's business. There's business. If you can solve that, then there's business around it. So that's when I went back and talked about it to my friends, Tony, Vinod, and all of them, and said, see, there's a really good business case here. Why don't we seriously consider? Until now, we've been passively reading about it. Passively, why don't we seriously consider this as a problem and see if we can build a product about it, just like how we did it back in 2019 and 20. They all seem interested. We started looking into it. We started spending much more time into it, and by around April or May of 2024. I decided, okay, this is a good time for me to leave the job and focus on it full time. So that's when I went back and I went.
So you were on a vacation and you.
Yeah. I was in Spain actually at that time. We were already working, so we already decided that we'll build a product out of it. But I was on a vacation to Spain. It was a long vacation, I think 2 weeks. I was spending. We were just hanging around, and for some reason, there I got this feeling that I need to resign and I need to. So I went and told my brother.
Sitting in some nice location and okay.
It was actually a really good location. So it was actually a mountain top. We had trekked to there, and I was just sitting. My friend, I had gone with a friend of mine. He was taking some rest. I was just sitting and just there is this
enlightenment moment came.
Enlightenment, just like in the movies. The enlightenment moment came, and then I decided, okay, I think we need to. I was just thinking about different things, and this also came up in my mind, and I decided, okay, this is a good time to come out and do this full time.
You know what? One thing is interesting. I have a little bit of similar journey, but the point is, when somebody thinks that we take instant decision, right? Yes, there are some moments of instant decision after a lot of thought.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not like that moment we sit there and we decided. Yeah. That's the decision point.
Yeah, that's what the people around me thought. My brother, my
the backstory
CTO.
is there is a lot of thinking, calculation, everything.
So many years of thought that went into this. Yeah. But that's my parents thought. When I like I said, I informed my my lead, my director from Spain. So I was sitting in the steps of the hotel that I was staying in, and I took a video call to him telling, hey, see, I have this idea. I had, and he was also a mentor to me in a lot of sense, right? So I wanted to discuss with him as well. So I had spent 2.5 years with them, with Karthik, trying to build a team. So he was a mentor of sorts. So I went to him and talked to him. I'm not sure. Maybe he thought that it was a vacation moment. Maybe he took it seriously at that point itself. But I gave it to him, and he said, "Okay." He said, "Give it a thought. We'll come back from vacation. We'll discuss this again." I went to my parents. It was like first it was to my brother, next to my director, next to my parents.
Back to back video calls.
Back to work calls. Right? Late night in Spain. So all of them took the call, and they were like, it was late night here as well, right? It was 10 o'clock at Spain, probably late night 1 o'clock here in India. But they took the call, and but all of them were supportive. Like I said, none of them like, no, don't do this, or don't think twice. None of them said don't think twice or anything. All of them said they were very supportive. And then I came back, I resigned.
Okay, so that's a very interesting way of getting into entrepreneurship. So let's say somebody who's not in Spain and not in vacation, right? But they want to start a business and they've been thinking about it. But most of the time, when I interact with some people, the problem they think is like, I don't have enough money, or probably I don't have guidance. They have something within them,
yes,
but it's probably not the environment and not the money. So what is the way, like, if you can, what journey did you take?
Yeah. In my case, when I started with Pixel, right, my first product, I'd say there wasn't much support, right? Other than my parents, of course. Correct. Other than my parents and the support system around me, not much of support. But today the scenario has changed a lot, in India specifically, I mean, right? So this scenario was available in Western countries long back. Yeah. But in India, this scenario has much changed. So let's say you just have an idea, right? All of us have ideas, right? You just have an idea. And you don't know where to start, right? The first thing I would recommend people is just go and talk to some incubation cell. So almost every college now is competing among themselves because it's a prestige issue for them.
Definitely.
So they're trying to start some kind of incubation cell. Every reputed college in Chennai.
So no matter you are from some other college.
Yeah,
you can go to any college.
You could be a student. You could be a first year student.
Okay.
You could be a working professional. You could be 35 years or 40 years of age. Doesn't matter. As long as you have a good idea, and as long as you have some sense of whether you can start a business.
So what is good idea? I want to go a step back. What is good idea? Because see, because India AI mission, I'm kind of I'm working in that space in a little part. So I know there are some goals defined that the government is looking that these are the areas we want to encourage startups. So for a person to validate if the idea is good or not, what parameters would you say?
The first thing I'd say is this is something that I did not do when I get started. If you have an idea and you think, okay, this is useful in this specific, let's say you have an idea and you believe that it's useful in finance industry, for example, just go on LinkedIn. Try, and if you already have people around you who are in the finance space, go talk to them. Just try pitching it to them, saying, "See, I'm trying to. This is an idea that you don't have to think about business. You don't have to think about converting them to clients. You don't have to worry about anything like that.
Is it useful? Simple.
Yeah. Is it a problem you're facing? Is it useful? Are you losing money out of it? Three questions.
Correct.
Right.
Very all these. Precise.
Yeah. If it's a problem that they're facing, that itself is a good validation.
Correct.
Maybe they're not losing money because of it today, but maybe if there's potential that they may lose money in the future, then that's a good idea for you to start working on now. Because by the time you're up and running, the business would mature.
Correct.
And then you can go and start selling. So I'd say these are the three things that if I were to start today, if I were to, let's say, scrape all these and then start with a new idea, this is what
absolutely. Even I would highly recommend and vouch for the same idea, because in fact, even one product that we are building now, this is the regular thing that first reach out to, it's a completely new sector that we are building, and we are reaching out to LinkedIn and asking, hey, can we jump into a call? I just want 5 to 10 minutes of your time to understand, is this a pain point?
Yes, and a lot of people are willing to
do that.
I got to know only recently. Right? A lot of people you could just cold text them. Maybe you could cold text 50 people. If 5 people take a call, it's huge. That's great, right? 10% conversion is great.
But that is enough to begin with, because if 5% people, let's say 100 people we reached out, even if 5% say that this is the problem, who are in a certain designation, that makes sure that yes, you are working on a pain point.
And the other thing is that you may have an idea. The moment you go talk to them, you have
new perspectives.
You also you can validate your idea, but also you can polish your idea. You talk to them and say, hey, your idea makes sense, but maybe they may tell something that makes you look in a different angle.
Yes.
Then suddenly, okay, your idea is a little bit more polished, right? Ideas are always polished, right? Nobody starts at you can look up. Take the big companies, for example, Facebook, Airbnb. You look at their first product, it's much different from what it is now. Right? Stripe, for example, they are very different products initially. So, so I think it's not about validating your product, but also polishing your product. We should be a lot of people. I see that in students when they have idea. Of course, it's our baby, right? And we want to stick to it.
Correct.
But we must be willing to not just take the idea, but also polish it after talking to people. Right?
Maybe the best way what even I could think of is, whenever there's an idea, keep in mind that there is only 20% of the real 10 or 20% is what you really understood.
Yeah.
And the importance of this is because why you are not in that industry. So let's say you're solving a problem for your IT industry, how to code. Then you know the business.
You are the client, you are the customer.
Yeah. But if you're building a product for a healthcare, if you're building a product for some other sector, finance, you have to understand and talk to them.
Definitely.
They know what they are struggling with. What is the redundant work? What is the technology gap that they are facing which will make their life?
And you can initially gauge how much they'll be willing to pay for it.
Correct.
2 or 3 calls is enough to decide they might be willing to pay for it. Okay, I might make this amount of money. So you don't just get validation in a call, in a 5-minute call. You get all these, right? So that's huge, and that was not possible 10 years ago. Now it's possible. So I think we should take advantage of that.
So another approach what we take, or I would also recommend, is first, let's say when you build the product, right? What happens is people, until they have paid money, they won't fully reveal, or they won't be so much. They won't tell all the pain points. So the moment comes when they are actually paying. Then it'll be like, you know what? If you can do this also, it'll be better for me. Even after building, you keep getting.
That's very important. Like, it's not just about selling your the first. Like I always tell my team around it. The first 10 customers, along with us, they're also building the product.
Exactly, that's the point.
Right? Yeah. We are going with a very immature product. We should all. I mean, initially with Pixel, my first product, when I went, I felt like this is the best product in the world, and everybody needs it. That usual ego that comes with an entrepreneur, right? But now, I mean, now I've realized that it's, you build something that you think is useful for an industry. You go to them, if they've started using it's great. That is huge validation.
Yeah, correct.
And then they're willing to work with you to improve refine it. That's even better because you're actually talking to the users. And usually my recommendation is when you get an idea and you're, if you can, if it's a software, you can definitely build it from your own laptop. Pick out parts of that idea that you can build probably in a month. I can spend, let's say, or let's put it, let's say, you can build it in, let's say, 100 hours.
MVP, basic MVP.
Basic MVP. Take it and then talk to people.
Yeah, that's when they'll consider you serious.
Yeah. Until then, you're just somebody talking with an idea.
Exactly. That's a very, very important point. It's not always that just with the idea we have to work. At least 2 months if we can invest, do our research and build something, a prototype or a MVP, just go and present to them.
I know people who've done Figma screens and taken it to people. And that is enough. Yeah. To be honest, that is enough.
We take seriously, right? Yeah. When you also meet, I also meet people where they come and we definitely want to listen more about it.
Definitely. Okay. So that's very helpful. So so that's in terms of validating the idea.
Okay, so I think idea is sorted for a person who has idea figured out. They don't have money. So if you can walk us through the journey of like grants and funding, if you can share some insights.
So if you don't have a lot of money that is saved that you can risk it, one of the best ways to get started, especially if you're around the space of AI, deep tech research, there's a lot of grants available. So there are two kinds of grants, one from government and one from corporate. So we call them CSR funds. Government grants and CSR, majority of the grants are government funded grants, and they are from very specific like organizations like MeitY, the startup TN and all those organizations, right? So the way it works is pretty simple. So you need to identify, so grants are released based on the sector wise. So MeitY usually all the grants from MeitY, for example.
So basically like India AI mission, right? Yeah. They have like 8 to 10 different sectors they want to promote.
Exactly. So AI in finance, AI in healthcare and so on. So you need to identify the right grant, what suits you in the first place. So first,
if your idea is falling into one of those buckets.
Yeah, it should fall in those buckets.
So let's say India AI grants is MeitY grants. So let's say somebody's idea is not into falling into those buckets, but still there will be other incubation cells or somebody who will be interested.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'll say even if you're whether or not your idea bucket falls into those buckets or not, the best way to get grants or best way to identify grants is by getting yourself incubated in a really good incubation space. Right? Because they will help you out. So what happens is these corporates and governments, they always let these incubation cells know what grants are available.
Makes sense. They are very updated.
They have the database of grants. So these incubation cells, they'll ensure that they'll identify the right grant for you. In the first conversation itself, they'll let you know that these grants are available.
Usually, so, I mean, for students who don't know what is incubation cell, if you can just give about what is incubation cell.
So incubation cells are basically organizations, usually started by colleges and universities, also started by private organizations. The sole purpose of incubation cells is to give you this launching pad to go from idea to maybe prototype or MVP.
So basically it is a entity to provide support to entrepreneurs.
So the support usually goes around workspace. They give you, if you're a SaaS company or if you're a software company, usually they give you access to these cloud credits and so on. If you're into manufacturing, I know a lot of incubators that provide access to let's say 3D printers and so on. So I know this. So I've been working with this incubator called AIC Race. They're in Coimbatore. So they provide a lot of these resources for manufacturing, things like that, right? So each incubator.
What kind of supports did you get? Like you got infra support?
I mean, if you get incubated there, you get infra support, workspace definitely. Access to these grants. And so for me personally, grants was a huge selling point when it comes to these incubators, because it's equity free money that's there.
Correct.
Most of these grants today, majority of the grants are equity free. So that's one huge advantage. You get something without selling a portion of your business. Because at this point in, let's say your idea stage, it's very hard to value your business.
Correct. Yeah.
So how do you know how much percentage to give? What's the ideal? So it's very hard.
So now let's say you got your basic grant. You got workspace, infra, potential clients, and maybe also investors.
Yeah, investors is the next step, right?
Next step, once you build your product and
once you build a product, better if you have clients, or even you don't even need to have revenue paying clients, paying clients. You have people that are trying out. Correct, right? So what investors, at least the ones that I've talked, what they're looking for is, okay, you have an idea, you have a product, yeah, it works. I agree with you. They're not going to dispute that, right? Your product works. For an investor, the only thing that matters is, can you make money out of it?
Simple.
There are only two things that matter. Can the product make money? As founders, are you the best people to make money out of this product? Those are two things that they're trying to identify. And so once you have the initial grants and initial fund, like I said, when you are building itself, you don't need the best product to start your trial customers.
Correct.
Right? Trial customers, even if they're not paying you, even if they are costing you actually, because you need to pay for cloud services and infra and so on, if they are costing you, one great advantage that they provide you at early stages is market validation. They tell what it indicates is that there are people who will be using the product,
and they will be the one who will actually help us refine it
as well. So that's huge, right? Because
and we don't need to pay them.
We don't need to pay them, because see, all entrepreneurs have that ego. Correct, right? That my idea is the best idea. My idea is going to make millions or billions of money, and my product is the best product. But when you go to that's a very important mindset to have actually. So when you go to an actual customer and they tell you, hey, this is what works, this doesn't work, we get that feedback, and then you go back and improve your product, right? And so two purposes. Now I told one purpose. Now two purposes now, right? Market validation.
Correct.
Then of course, free ideas for you to improve your product.
So I think pretty much an entrepreneur journey begins, and it starts right from the funding. I mean, in grants to the latest stage of funding. Everything is covered. Once you go to incubation, the environment is set for success.
Okay. All you need to do is, of course, there's a bit of timing matters. Right? Timing matters a bit. But you have but everything else that you can control is available at your disposal, right? Resources, people, other entrepreneurs. I know a lot of startup founders who have gone into an incubation cell alone and found a co-founder there.
Right? Yeah, that happens.
Like for example, a lot of the people that go into incubators are people like me, core researchers or core engineers who can build really good products. But you need a business person, right? So you go there and you will find people. Right, I don't mean this derogatively. I know people. I've met people who are extremely sales. You can give a stone to them and they'll sell it for you, right? That good of sales people, right? So you'll find sales people there. You go events, you go meet. So you find a lot of co-founders.
So what makes you think is, like, let's say somebody, it need not be somebody in deep tech. Even if you are somebody good in marketing or sales, go to
incubation cells. Go look at the ideas, what people are working there, right? Go to their events, talk to them, and then if you want to start a business and you have a really good product, someone that's building a product, you go and compliment them on the business side of things.
So what is deepfake, if you can explain and if you can share about
it? From the technical side of things, deepfake is any image that where a face has been swapped, right? Or in terms of audio, it's an audio clip where you take someone else's voice and you generate a audio
cloned or manipulated.
Audio cloning and so on. But we'd like to, since there are a lot of negative connotations also deep fake, we'll stick to using the terms AI-generated and AI-manipulated content. Right? So you're trying to generate an image, you're trying to, you give a prompt and you get from, let's say get it from Meta maybe. Or you're trying to upload an image and you're trying to get that Ghibli art style. Right? So that's manipulated. You give actual image and you try to change it to something else, right? So for all technical purposes, it's manipulated. So it could be AI-generated or AI-manipulated content. Our platform's job is to tell you whether the media content that you're consuming, right? It could be an image, it could be a video, whether it was generated or manipulated using AI tools.
Simple. Okay. So if it is even AI-generated, or it is AI manipulated. Both the platform will be able to detect. I mean, that's, I think this is very important because AI images, when it's generated and sold as real images, okay, or AI generated videos, generated but sold to deceive people, real, and that's definitely something that we all should stand for.
That's where our intention starts with. Our goal is not to we're not saying don't generate AI generated images. It's going to happen. People are going to be using it. That's fine. But as long as you let people know, as long as people know what they're consuming.
So basically, it's your platform. For example, it's been your AI model what you created. It's trained with the numerous real videos or real images, and then also fed with a lot of this AI generated content. And the AI model is able to understand the difference between it and able to flag it.
Yeah, we give some extra, we call them technically speaking features. So basically we are, so instead of giving a raw image, what we do is we do something called, when all engineers will be familiar with this term, all physics people too, something called Fourier transform. So it's to give a really practical example, if you're using a tool that is trying to split, so let's say you're uploading audio clip and you want to split, let's say the violin piece and then let's say the piano piece, right? The way to do it is using, I mean, not many engineers actually know, not many even people who do physics actually know that Fourier transform has a really good practical application here. But
this is something you learn in college.
Fourier transform is something that we learn, but I never knew that it could be. So the way I got to know all these mathematical ideas that they have really good use cases, right? Is not through college. I mean, of course, I heard these terms in college, but what I'll do is, so the way it works is in college they'll give you a formula. So they'll give, for example, if you're doing a Fourier transform, they'll give you a formula. They'll give you an equation. You just apply on top of it. You get an output. Yeah, you get full marks, right?
Okay.
But I'm somebody that. I'm a person that's not satisfied by that. I want to know, okay, if you're using a formula, what is it? Wait, if somebody came up with a Fourier transform, they wouldn't have done it for fun, right? Right? That should have been something.
There is a reason for it.
So what it is, I would go back home, I'll go to my hostel, I'll go to YouTube, and then there are these really good lectures from Stanford, MeitY, the top universities, UC Berkeley, and so on. So what I'll do is, if let's say I have digital signal processing as a paper in my college, I'll in parallel look at lectures for digital signal processing from MeitY, Stanford. Right?
Okay.
So 2 colleges at the same time. So my college, that's the exams are going on one side, but me trying to actually understand what they're trying to. So if let's say if they're teaching something in calculus, for example, right? Why would they do it, right? So maxima minima, they're very beautiful real world applications. Almost calculus is there everywhere. Fourier transforms are actually there a lot of places in our real life. So I'll go back home, I'll be looking at, okay, what are the actual applications of this? Where do they actually use it, right? And once you got to know that, math becomes very interesting, right?
Makes sense.
Until then it's like puzzles.
So this is the base of your product then, in a way.
In a way, my product is a bunch of mathematical formulas applied in real life, right? Actually, all of AI research is just underneath the hood. It's a marriage between calculus, probability, linear algebra, matrix algebra, right? All of which we all have learned in our school and college without even knowing that they have actual applications.
Okay, so now let's say in your startup, if you want to hire somebody, so what are the things that you will look for?
So our startup is slightly different in terms of AI recruiting, not because we look for different qualities, but because we are a deep tech R&D company, right? So there are 2 kinds of AI companies that do AI stuff. Right? So one is companies like ours, deep tech R&D. We are a small portion of the overall AI companies here in India. So in such companies, in companies like when we look for, so one thing that I personally look for, it is something. It is more of a cultural fit, to be honest. I look for people that are very interested in learning. Right, so when I'm having an interview, maybe talking to somebody, I look for pieces of, okay, are they into learning a lot? Because if you're into R&D, something new comes up in AI all the time. So you should have that curiosity and willingness to spend at least 30 minutes a day learning something. Right, so what I do is maybe when I get a bunch of resumes in my hand, what I do is, okay, have they done a lot of certifications, right? And how different are their certifications from others? Not just, or have they searched a lot and identified that rare one course that teaches something very niche? And that is
correct.
That is the mark of a very curious person, right?
Correct. So not that standard 3 hours you did it and you stick that certification in your resume.
That won't work. That we'll know, right? We would have seen 100 resumes, we know. So we know. So I look for that, right? So that's one. So you need to be very into learning. In terms of skill sets, it's pretty standard, right? You need to be really good at the applied math of things. Right. So you need to understand what calculus is. You need to understand what, let's say, Fourier transform is, stuff like that. You don't have to solve complex problems. I don't know. I'll not ask you to solve problems, but we'll definitely look for, okay, are you very good knowledgeable in that? And of course, the general, you need to be really good at. So any AI role, I think you need to be really good at Python. Plain and simple.
Do you also go see their GitHub repositories? How long they've been contributing?
I don't actually. I personally don't. So but I think that's a good, if you've given me a good idea actually.
Many people see, because they feel, okay, suddenly all of a sudden in 2 months, 3 months they have contributed, or is there a history? They've been contributing. Like you said, your GitHub repository is there from, you've been piling up and building and then products. That shows that.
So that's definitely helpful. I'll probably look for that moving forward. So this is what I look for. Somebody with really good applied math skills.
Okay.
Somebody with really good Python programming knowledge. It would be great if you had published a research paper for us in your college for final year, third year. If you've gone for a conference, if you've done that. It will be amazing if you attend a lot of hackathons, because my principle is build and break a lot of things. Learn by building and breaking. So you attend a lot of hackathons. That's very helpful, and that's sign that you have learned a lot. You learn something, right? So this is what I look for. But if you're looking at general, but if you take away the research side of things, right? If you want to get into the engineering side of things, because back when I was working at Optisol, let's say that what we look for when it comes to recruiting is really strong Python skills. You need to know one machine learning and deep learning framework in a really good way, right? So you need to let's say I give you the diagram of a model. You need to be able to implement that in PyTorch.
Okay. Right? So this technical roles. Okay. I think let's say somebody who wants to join as a let's say business development or such roles, what would you look for?
That part I'm still figuring out to be honest. But what usually I do is I give them, so if let's say I give them a task. So let's say I'll give them one feature of my product. I'll give them, go take 2 days, come back to me with a 2-page report on how you can sell this product, or what industries you will target, what are the use cases, what industries you will target, and they come back to me with a report. And if I find that to be really nice, that's how I hired my first person. Yeah.
So let's say somebody who is not in technical background, okay, one other thing that I would think is necessary is, like, let's say somebody's MBA, they can start seeing if they want to be part of the AI ecosystem in this marketing sales, they also need to start knowing all this latest what is going on, and probably do some internship in that space, join incubation center, and where they are contributing towards this, because I think there is a shortage.
Definitely,
there's a huge shortage, not only with the technical talent, but also this non-technical
people that can go and sell AI products, right?
There's a huge market out there. So now coming back to Deepfake, your product, okay. Let's say it's already complex, I understand the dynamics. So a common person, if there is anything that they can do to identify Deepfake, or stop, be more aware. Is there a, what do you think?
Yeah, so for face swap deepfake, so videos where the face has been swapped, one usual clue is the rest of the video will be in a different resolution, maybe sharp and clear. The face will be slightly blurred, or it'll just look odd, right? Because you compare the resolution especially. So that's one way. That's one way of identifying face swap deepfakes. Lip movements. A lot of times what happens is that face is swapped, audio is perfect, but lip movement is that's one of the hardest parts, to be honest, in terms of deepfaking today, right? So lip movement is a bit off, or it is irrelevant completely. So that's one. That's for videos. In images, my recommendation is look for text.
Correct. Yeah.
If there's text, and if it's really bad text,
it'll get blurred out.
Yeah.
So maybe for image, I can share some insight. Is like image will be too perfect. So let's say if somebody's hairstyle is like almost perfect in a normal setting. Yeah. In a normal setting in a restaurant, they have the perfect hairstyle and
red carpet hairstyle.
Red carpet hairstyle, those kind of things, and also probably the tools or the techniques now is so advanced that you might not find too much of a difference. But when you notice the other elements, like let's say accessories like watch, or for images where ladies are there, their jewelries. That is where we can identify, those subtle nuances where it will identify.
And I noticed one thing, maybe if you might notice, right? I mean, I saw people posting on LinkedIn, right? That all AI generated images, when they generate an image of a watch, it always shows a specific time, apparently.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I found, because majority of the images on the internet 10:10. Right. So
correct.
So that is something you can look for as well, right? I mean, if the sitting
correct.
is noon time and it shows 10:10 there, then it's a fake, obviously.
Yeah, so these are some little things that we can try to ensure. That's a lot of information packed in this podcast. I must say, such an inspiring journey that you have. Having also opportunity to meet different people from diverse background. At 26, when people are still trying to figure out what can be done, you have taken this interesting journey and come this far.
I say I had a really good environment. I just wish everybody has that environment.
We need to have that intent also to search for the environment. So thanks once again, Praveen, for taking time today and inspiring the audience, sharing your journey. Such a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.